Yo, welcome to another episode of the Culturally Controversial Podcast, Sports Talk. I'm your host, Simply Nicholas 87, and my co-host, Ty H.
Good evening.
Hey, for all the new people out there that hadn't subscribed to the channel, y'all tuning in, y'all go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also share it. Like the videos, man. It gets us up there on the main page of YouTube. The more likes we get, the more attention we get. So we want to bring attention to what we got going on tonight because we got a special guest in the building. Uh, I'll let you break it down some, Tyrell.
And most of you know, Coach Ralph Jackson ended up leaving Anson to take the job at West Stanley High School that left the opening at Anson Senior High School. Anson's finally hired his new head coach. The new head coach has been hired. His name is Coach Landon Allen. Most of us in the community are familiar with him, and I'm excited to bring him on and introduce him to the community again as the head coach of Anson Senior High School.
Without further ado, man, let me bring up Coach Allen. Coach.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, going great, Coach. How are you?
Good, man. Thank you guys for having me. I can't thank you enough for, doing this for, Anson football, and for high school sports and all you guys do. I appreciate you guys having me on the show tonight.
Hey, no doubt, man. We appreciate you taking time out your busy schedule because we know that you had hit the ground running. So to take time to talk to us and to talk to the community, man, we're happy, and I'm sure the community appreciates you as well.
Absolutely, man. Anytime I get to talk about Anson football, Anson, I'm all in. I'm all in.
Yes, sir.
I want to start with the first thing. When you got the news that you were selected as head coach, how did it feel getting that news being a head coach?
I tell you, man, I tell everybody it was overwhelmingly, just overwhelmed with the blessings, as far as whenever I got the job, it was a long process. Obviously, I knew a little earlier than most with Coach Jackson leaving, and there was a lot of decisions that, had to be made for the position, and, and talking back and forth with my family and getting the support from them. And, it was the amount of support that was thrown my way once it was announced was, like I said, it was overwhelming, man. I felt so blessed and honored, and from guys that that coached me, from guys that I've coached with, from the community, from obviously my friends and my family, but most importantly, the guys, and just how they kind of like just told me they were proud of me. And hearing that from the football players, you kind of, you're overlooking them, but you see them being proud of you as well, and seeing the work that you put into it, man. It was, like I said, I just felt so blessed, man. And I thank God for, giving me this opportunity, because I prayed that, he would put me where I'm supposed to be, and, show me the path to follow. And I truly feel like this is where I'm supposed to be.
And speaking of that, you touched on some of the things I want to talk about. As far as now being the head coach, I know a lot of people know Coach Landon Allen. I want you to introduce Landon Allen, the man. Like, tell us who you are, your core values, your principles of life, the way you try to live life, and the qualities that you want to embody. Kind of tell us about the man, Landon Allen.
I got you. Well, me myself, I'll go ahead and start with, I am a man of faith, a true believer. And I feel, like I said, I feel like everything happens for a reason, and very, very heavily strong Christian man. I've been married now for 7 years to my wife Gabrielle. We have 3 daughters.
Girl dad. I
can't figure out how to do anything else, but if you have any hints with that, you can help me out.
Hey, it's no solution, man. I got a daughter, so it's no solution, man. Just go with the flow.
Yeah. But so I'm actually from Oakboro, which is kind of how I got into being at Anson fresh out of college. was very recently married, daughter on the way. Didn't have a job, and was actually training Coach Jackson's nephew, and saw that the Anson had posted they needed a PE teacher, and I reached out to him. I was like, hey, Malik, can I get Coach Jackson's number? And so, anyways, got him, called Coach Jackson up. Coach Jackson took care of me, and I'm forever indebted to him, and helping me get to Anson and teaching me a lot of things that I know. As far as, but in high school, but like I said, high school, grew up in Oakboro, and then went to Brevard College. Was there for 5 years, and I played football in the SAC conference at the time. We were Division II SAC, playing against like Wingate, Lenoir Ryan,
Carson,
Tusculum, Newberry, a lot of dudes. I was actually asked kind of this question in the interview of kind of like who you are, and I told him it's hard to explain me without football, but I would tell you faith, family, and football.
I love it, man. And delving into the football side of it, I know you just you hadn't too long taken over the job, and I know you're hitting the ground running. But as far as getting your staff and stuff together, you don't have to call in names, but when Coach Jackson was here, I thought the last couple of years he was put at a disadvantage by, aside from you and maybe a couple other guys, we didn't have a lot of guys on the staff, which I thought didn't allow the kids to be put in the best position as well. I'm hoping the administration is working side by side with you to put together a staff, and that you have input in the guys that are on your staff, so you can have guys who have the same philosophy as you. How's that process going?
Everything's going really good, and Mr. Stinson and administration, they've been very supportive throughout the whole process here, and hiring and getting a staff together. I will kind of tell you the guys that are staying on staff from last year, and then I'm not gonna play all my cards, and
I understand.
Keep a few things in as far as guys that I plan on bringing in. I'm really excited about a lot of the opportunities we have to getting guys, number one, on the football staff, and number two, in the building.
Right.
Coach Hyatt will still be staying on along staff with us, and he's going to be, offensive coordinator working with the offensive line. Coach TJ Howard, one of my close personal friends, was a state champion at Albemarle High School. Brings a lot of knowledge to the game. He'll still be working with outside backers and strong safeties. Coach Dylan Blackwell, who brings a very good depth of knowledge to the game. He's actually from California, in which he was a head coach there. He spent some time as offensive coordinator at Porter Ridge, and then came on and worked with us last year with our quarterbacks. Coach Nelson Russian, plan on definitely keeping Coach Russian on staff. He's great with the kids, and the relationships that he has built with them is very special, and obviously has a great knowledge of the game. Plan on utilizing him with the defensive line this year. Coach Caleb Goodman, who is actually a student teacher of mine at Pembroke right now, he will be staying on staff. He was a volunteer last year, but looking on to bringing him. He's currently in the building teaching PE right now. He's a jack of all trades, very, very smart guy, very good with social media, very good with any type of technology that you can imagine. A great jackknife to have on staff. He's going to be helping out with the offensive and defensive line. And then obviously Pastor Steve will be staying on as team chaplain and keeping everybody straight on game day.
Okay, so it sounds like
looking at that, I can kind of tell you there's an opportunity to bring 4 or 5 more guys on on staff, and hopefully as many as we can to be in the building as well, there during the day to build relationships with our guys.
Right, and furthermore, I don't want to see you in a situation where you're having to do too many things at one time. I want you to be in a situation where you have guys you can trust to delegate things out to, instead of being in a situation where you're having to be in 4 or 5 different huddles. That's why I said that's important, because I think when you don't have enough help, it puts you in a bind, because it's almost like, because every time you have to take a second away from one thing to give to another, that's something that's being left without attention. And I think lots of times that set coaches up the field. I want you to be in the best position to be successful. So that was the reason for asking that.
Correct.
And
Yeah, you got to find 8 or 9 guys that are number one loyal to you and that you can trust. And because anytime you have a divide inside the coaching staff, obviously, kids see it, everybody sees it, and being able to present that strong front as a coaching staff is obviously going to pour off to the guys, and seeing the camaraderie from the coaches between one another, and then translating into the locker room with those guys. But finding 8 or 9 guys that just to be honest, I'd like to find 8 or 9 guys that are smarter than me, that know more than me, that not necessarily think that they know more than me, but know more than me. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, because you want different mindsets and different ideas. So you want somebody that maybe say, hey, why don't we try this? And then that way you can sit down and talk it out and see what's best. I get it. And one other thing before I turn it back over to Nick, you already have rapport with the players because you were the defense coordinator last year. I want to ask, has the dynamic and the relationship and the way you communicate, is there a difference from when you were a defense coordinator / assistant versus being the head coach now? And for example, does it call for you to have to be a little more stern, or your personality is kind of even keeled throughout? Like, has there been a change in how you communicate with the guys since you've taken over as head coach?
I would say maybe a little bit, considering that I've had to. You, as a head coach, you have to make some of the hard decisions that, as an assistant coach, you're normally like, well, let me ask Coach Jackson, and see what he says. And, now that responsibility is put on me. So I definitely would say, yes, there is a change, but I would say on the opposite end of the spectrum, I'm still me. And, the relationships I have with the guys is pretty much set in foundation, and they kind of know who I am. And so I would say on that end of the spectrum, no, not really. And also, as being not only the defensive coordinator, but, coach named me very early, into my career after year 1 as the assistant head football coach. And he's done a really good job at preparing me to, and doing some of the jobs that most assistant head coaches wouldn't do, and helping, him do head coaching responsibilities.
Yeah, like that game at Piedmont when he had to leave to be with his family. And I recall, I believe you coached about 3/4 of that game as the head coach, a 28-14 victory last year. So we've gotten a sample size of what you could do as head coach.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Nick. My bad for taking them too long.
As far as strength and conditioning this year, I know back in the day when I was in school, because that was been many, many moons ago. But what's the approach going into conditioning for the summer? Because I know it's been different over the last few years. It's been different routines. What is the goal this summer for?
As far as the strength and conditioning goes, I'm super glad you asked about it. Like we were talking about before, we went live. It's max out week this week. It's week 9. We started back in January. We started a bigger, faster, stronger program, in which was a micro and a macro cycle of kind of like a pyramid. You start out 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, and you go up, down in weight and up in percentage throughout the week, and basically is 2 4-week cycles going into max outs. I can actually tell you, after the game against Forest Hills, we were loading the bus, and obviously I was still down about how the game went and losing, and immediately started thinking about how do we get better. And obviously this is before that I even knew that I was going to be in the position that I am now. I kind of expected to be in the same position that I was last year, but God works in mysterious ways. So and so I looked at the weightlifting classes, because when they're in class, you don't have to work around dead periods. You don't have to work around any, loopholes or anything like that. You see them every day, Monday through Friday. So, anyways, I pulled up the 3 schedules of weightlifting, and I saw 6 guys in the weight room. And, I immediately went to, Mr. Stinson, and I said, Mr. Stinson, this has got to change.
Right.
If you plan on beating the Forest Hills, if you plan on beating the Monroes, if you plan on beating the teams that maybe we necessarily didn't have success in beating against last year, then our guys have to be in the weight room year round. That's just the nature of the beast nowadays. If you're not going to compete. So it's not going to happen. So anyways, we got with the guidance counselors, and we got the guys' schedules. We dug into them, and we have 54 guys returning, to the team this year, total, so seniors, juniors, and sophomores. And right now, 45 of them are in the weight room every day, and that started back in January. And so I've challenged our guys. I created an off-season competition with the guys so that they're kind of learning how to compete, not only against our opponents, but also against one another, because, both of you guys have been in the weight room before. If you have somebody that you live with every day and you can go out and compete against those guys, you're going to get better. And so created an off-season competition. I can go into that depth a little bit more, but I'll try to stay on track with just the weightlifting part of it. But I'm rewarding the guys for taking weightlifting, trying to create incentives to make guys see what they're, basically see the benefits right now, as opposed to, waiting to the season. But anyways, so I'm rewarding those guys for taking weightlifting, and hopes that guys see that it's not, it's not just something that we can maybe do or do if we want to do, but something hopefully that we can do every single semester, and then creating that incentive to where, maybe we add this point system up to where I get to choose uniforms for before other guys for taking weightlifting year round, and obviously other things that are accounted into it, but really trying to make sure that they see the importance of taking weightlifting, for both semesters from their freshman all the way through their senior year of high school.
Right. That brings another point I want to get into, because kind of going back to some things last season, and some things that I wonder, will this prevent? I know you were talking about the numbers and the people showing up during the off season. I know last year our program, the last couple of years, we didn't have guys showing up during the voluntary stuff as much as we had in previous years. I remember Coach Jackson was saying the first few years he got here, he never had any issues with having most of your guys, your seniors and stuff, showing up. And I remember the last couple of seasons, he said he was a little disappointed because some of the guys who he look at as leaders or basically got there just in time for mandatory camp. I think some of that, and I could be wrong, but I think some of that is what led to that 0-3 start last year. And I think that 0-3 start last year, because last year I think we had a good team. It's just that bad start kind of set everything back. We were playing from behind, but
they figured out each other late.
Yeah, and I know you want to prevent that from happening again. Or do you think the guys at this point remember what happened last year and are more bought in because they don't want that to happen again? Because the talent's there. You got 13 returning starters. 7 of them are all conference, if I'm not mistaken. Do the guys feel the pressure that, hey, we need to hit the ground running, and we got to put ourselves in position from day one, not wait to week 4 to get it together?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the guys are hungry, and obviously, in getting those 45 guys into the weight room, a lot of it was, hey, calling them and kind of explaining to them the importance of, hey, we maybe don't need to take this elective this semester, this year, and make sure that we're in the weight room so that we're preparing ourselves year round to win football games. So, and I created that, like I said, this off-season competition in hopes that guys buy in right now instead of August 1st. If they kind of see that, and I'll just go down the list of kind of what the off-season competition is. And number one was academics, making sure that the guys know that, we're student athletes, and without, good grades, you're not going to be able to play, number one. And if you're thinking about going next level and you don't have good grades in the classroom, you're lying to yourself.
Right.
So making sure that your goals match your lifestyle. So I'm rewarding them on academics, on making good grades. I'm rewarding them on taking, weightlifting classes, rewarding them and making sure that they stay out of school disciplinary acts, as far as the learning lab or out of school suspensions, rewarding them for being studious, and everybody knows that the football team on campus, we're the most populous team. So, you know how to act in the classroom. 9 times out of 10, everybody else in there, the fence sitters, are going to follow you if you're doing the right thing. So making sure you reward them on that, rewarding them for being at off-season workouts for every single one that they attend, rewarding them for going out and doing community outreach things and teaching them, guys, it's not what people can do for you, but what you can do for others, making sure that they know that, we're here to service others and make each other better. Incorporated fundraising in there. So, because, we don't necessarily have a lot of money thrown at us. So we got to go out sometimes and we got to, put gloves on and boots on and put the shovel to the dirt and get to work it ourselves. And so rewarding for them for that. Also rewarding them for doing spring sports, doing winter sports. Like we talked about before, if they're a 3-sport athlete, they're staying in shape. They're learning how to compete against the teams that we're going to be playing against. They're learning how to win, which I feel like is a skill. You have to know how to win. And then also building the camaraderie with each other. And then lastly, the last part of the season or the last 2 parts going into the season, spring practice, rewarding them from being there. And then if they get 100%, they get even more incentive for that. And then lastly, summer workouts before we go into the season, making sure that they know that they're getting points for attending sessions. And then not going to that the kids kind of know, but I kind of wanted to be a surprise to the community. But the guys that buy in at 90% this year during spring and summer workouts, they're going to have something really cool to show the community and something that they're going to be really proud about.
Cool. We're not gonna let you tell all your trade secrets.
Yeah,
we're on your side, so we don't.
we top secret.
But the kids are super excited about it. And it's something they should, they can be proud about. So,
hey, Nick, let me ask you one more thing before I turn it back over to you.
Okay.
I know you were talking about learning how to win and how the things you do now impact that. Some of the things I want to go on with. I know you mentioned that after that playoff loss to Forest Hill, you were talking about we got to get better and get stronger, bigger, and stronger in the weight room. I understand that. There are other things that concern me. I thought last year was we had too many paper cuts, and what I mean by that is like the accumulation of little things that turn to a big thing, like on the 3rd and 1 where somebody gets a false start and now it's 3rd and 6, game-changing paper cuts, situations where the 11th man was running on the field with 3 seconds left on the play clock, so now you got to burn a timeout. And some of that was definitely in the first half of the season, like without telling any secrets or whatever. How do you think we fix those little things like that? Because those little things can accumulate, and sometimes that accumulation could be the difference between winning a game 20-17 or losing a game 17-14.
Right. So you asked the question and then you kind of answered it with talking about the little things and doing the little things right. But so I feel like getting the guys to buy in early. And making sure that they're committed to what they're doing and knowing that, football is not just a hobby, but it's also a commitment, and making sure that they're bought into the process. And obviously the more time that they put in, the more it's going to be important to them. You and I, we know when you put a lot of time into something, it's more important to you. So you're going to have more invested into it, and it's going to be more important. So yes, it's going to be very crucial to make sure that we eliminate those procedure penalties and doing all those things. And I truly think, kind of like you said, it's making sure that we do the little things right. For instance, going in the classroom, taking your hood off, making sure that you're attentive, and then also making sure that you're at spring workouts, you're at summer workouts, so that we're not learning things on August 1st. We already know things on August 1st, and we're just figuring out how to make ourselves better at those things.
Right, the attention to detail, basically.
Correct.
I appreciate that.
You're not practicing it until you do it right, but practicing it until you can't do it wrong.
Boom.
Right. My thing, I want to piggyback off the question about. I remember you were saying that there was not a lot of money dumped in. Has there been any talks of a booster club resurgence of any sort?
We do have a booster club, in which I need to reach out and kind of figure out. Obviously, I'm new to that part. I do need to reach out to them and see, basically how that works. So I can't really answer. We do have a booster club. I need to reach out to them and kind of see how that works with the football program, because a lot of schools kind of have like a gridiron club to where it's just football.
Right.
And I know that we don't really have that. We have a booster that kind of takes care of everything. So I need to dig into more of that.
Okay. Well, so you got Coach Hyatt with you, so he'll be a good resource on that, because he was here during the time when he was here as an assistant and partially as a head coach when the program was at its best. So
absolutely, and having Coach Hyatt on staff and his knowledge for knowing the ins and outs of so many different things is definitely beneficial. And having Coach
and the fact that he was here when the program was you're a young man, so you're only 30 years old. So it's crazy. Since you've been an adult man, Anson hasn't been what it used to be. But like when Nick and I were growing up, Anson used to be one of the top 4A programs, and when we had bigger numbers, of course, used to be one of the top 4A programs in North Carolina. I'm sure Jackson told you that too. I know now we don't have the numbers that we used to have, but I'm hoping that against who we're competing against our peers, I want us to be. I always say this: no matter what classification you're in, you want to be amongst the best of your peers. And so, and that gets me to who you have returning. I think you got some excellent playmakers returning. Guys that I think of Jazeer Griffin. That's the name, right? Running back Jazeer Griffin.
Yep.
I think of wide receiver Jaden Little. Those are I think of running back / receiver Kendrick May. I'm just talking about on the offensive side of the ball. If I feel like if you guys can find out who your next QB is going to be, and if some of those JV offensive linemen who had size on them, I feel like if we can get those guys gelling quickly, I think we can have an explosive offense with Griffin out of the backfield and a guy like and you don't have to get into offensive philosophy, and a guy like a guy like Little, who can keep some safeties out of the box. I feel like we should be able to run the ball well, and I feel like we should be able to make explosive plays in the passing game too. With that combination, if we can block up front and find someone to replace QB Luke Hyatt, I think the sky's the limit for that offense. As far as offense, but I don't want you to tell formations or any of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But what kind of brand do you want to? Are you trying? Is your identity of a downhill smash mouth, or are you more of speed based, or you're like do whatever it takes to win this particular game in this particular matchup?
I'm a smash mouth football guy. Don't really, like I said, want to get into too much as far as what we plan on doing.
Right.
But I'm definitely a smash mouth guy. I like being able to run the football. I like being able to keep the ball out of our opponent's hands, making sure that we're winning the time of possession. And like you said before, we have those guys that you named, and we also have other guys that can definitely tote the rock and look on basically using all of those guys to our strengths. And like you said, it definitely helps in running the football when you have a guy like Jaden Little out on the edge, that it gives you that vertical threat. So, but yeah, I'm a smash mouth guy. If you can sit there and run the football, let's just put it this way: if you pass, for 350 yards against a team, you might win. But if you run for 350 or rush for 400, you're going to win.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm with you. Go ahead, Nick.
My next question is, as far as the schedule this year, has it came out yet, or there still hasn't no certainty yet?
Yes. So basically, how it runs in North Carolina, you're on a 2-year contract. So basically, we'll be going off of last year's schedule, but instead of 4 home games, we'll have 6 home games.
Okay.
So we'll look at opening up with North Stanley, going to Sun Valley, week 2, going to North Rowan, week 3. Albemarle will come to us week 4. Then we'll have a bye week following that. After that, we'll have 3 home games in a row, being Central Pageland, Parkwood, Piedmont. Then we will go to Monroe. West Stanley will come to us for senior night, and then we'll finish up going to Forest Hills.
Okay.
Same schedule last year, just
in
the location.
The exact same schedule, except you flip you flip home and away, which I'm very excited about. Our guys being able to protect our house for 6 games. I'm really looking forward to that, and then the next year, I don't know what's going to happen, man, because we're going to an A classification system the following year, so I can't tell you who's going to be in our conference. I can't tell you, who's going to be our non-conference games. So it's going to be really fun when all that kind of sorts itself out as well.
And then we don't even know where the line is going to be drawn at, and where our numbers. I've noticed with our numbers, we've had a slight uptick, but I don't know if it's enough uptick to what side of the line will fall. And I know last year we reported 864. That's when you include early college and all that as well. Maybe 884 or something like that. The year before it was like 860. A couple of years ago, it had dropped down below the 700. So it seemed like we're trending in the right direction as far as the numbers are concerned. I know that with that classification thing, it's 8 classifications. I know somewhere, at least on today's numbers, we would fall somewhere between like that 4 and 5. Okay, and I know people like Monroe and Forest Hill will fall maybe on the other side of that. So I'm thinking maybe a split league, like we have a 3A, 2A league now that we're in. I feel like it'll be a split 4A, 5A league, probably with some of the same teams. At the end of the day, you got to play who you got to play, and I don't really worry about classification. Like I said, it's 11 guys on the field, and so the only thing that concerned me over the last few years is having to have so many guys play both ways, and I know it was out of necessity, but I'm hoping that we get enough numbers to where the depth to be better. When, for example, when you got some of your best players, when you got Jazir Griffin playing safety and running back, you had Courtney Sturman playing cornerback and wide receiver. We had so many guys having to line up and then turn around and line up on the other side of the ball. That puts you in a bad position late in the game. I feel so. What?
Yeah, it's not ideal. No.
Yeah, like I think about that game against Monroe. I feel like the third quarter we just wore down. That was a game in the first half we played toe to toe with them. In the second half, there was a lot of self-inflicted wounds, but I felt like we fell apart, and some of that could have been because of mental fatigue as well. So I know it's early, but I'm hoping that with the guys you got coming back and with some of the guys you have coming from who played well on that JV squad last year, I'm hoping that we'll be put in a position where not all of our key playmakers have to play both sides of the ball, so we can have some energy left in the fourth quarter.
Correct, and if we can do that, we will. But on the other end of the spectrum, we're going to do what we have to do to win.
Yeah, I got you.
So, but yeah, ideally, I would love to be able to do that. And the good thing is, out of the 54, I would say that I think 32 of those guys will be varsity aged football players. And not saying that some of those sophomores or freshmen won't be dudes and have to help us out on Friday nights, but having 32 guys that are varsity aged to where they're not having to maybe be asked to come up when they're not necessarily ready yet, it will definitely be helpful.
Okay. We have a question out in the chat. questions. How does Coach feel about our boys' work ethic this off season?
It's been really good, man. It's been really good. Like I said, I've had those 45 guys and weightlifting every day since January, and they've really been getting after it in the weight room and really been competing with each other.
All right, Kyrie, you got something?
I can come up with something.
Okay.
I know that you're a defensive guy, and I'm trying to not put you in the position to ask you any trade secrets. Even though as the head coach, you still plan on being hands-on with the defense. You know how lots of times a former offensive coordinator sometimes still calls his own plays on offense. Being a former defense coordinator, you still plan on having that hands-on approach to defense, or you plan on just delegating that out?
I think it all kind of depends on, like we were talking about before with staffing. And if I can find a guy that I trust and I agree with, kind of his plan, and he can, and I would like for him to run basically my system,
Right.
And me kind of be there to assist.
Right.
But on the other end, if I get a guy that has a lot of knowledge, has a lot of experience, and I can get them to come in and kind of take that caseload off of me, I wouldn't be totally against that. But to say that I'm going to totally take my finger off of it, I feel like would be a lie for me to sit here and to say, just because that has been my job for so long and prepping for games, watching, 10 to 14 hours of film a week on just how to compete against these guys. It'll be tough for me to sit there and totally go away from it. But like I said before, I feel like it all depends on if I can find a guy that I feel like I can trust.
Right. It sounds like you're in win now mode. I mean, just hearing the confidence that you're projecting sounds like of course, games are played on the field. I understand that, but it sounds like you're in win now mode. You're inheriting a team that has potential to be really good. Like I said, 13 returning starters, 7 all conference guys. Let me ask you this: from a personal standpoint, do you feel like there's pressure on you, or do you feel like in year one that there's pressure on you to turn it to pick up from where we left off last year immediately?
I definitely feel like there's pressure on me, and a lot of that is probably pressure just from myself and be a competitor. If you sit here and ask me, like how many games do you plan on winning, just as a competitor, I would say all of them, because if you sit here and say, well, we might not win this one, you might not win this, why play them?
Yeah.
You should go into every game expecting to win. But we keep talking about potential, and I've been telling my guys about potential, and we have a lot of potential. But on the other side of that, potential doesn't mean anything until it's put into action.
True.
So if I will be very confident. If say go through spring ball, go through summer, and 95% of our guys have been there every single day and invested in the program, will I feel confident then? Yes, because I know we'll know how to do those little things right. But right now, I'm on the same end of you. I see the potential, and that gets me excited for the guys. So I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily, just confident or anything like that. I would just say that, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Right.
We got another question from the chat. What are Coach Landon's thoughts on the quarterback position?
Ooh, good question. A good question that we know that he's not going to answer all the way.
So
Let's see what you got to say.
I think it's so funny because I know who's asking this question, and so that's kind of what made it funny. But we have 2 guys who are JV quarterbacks last year, and Doc Hyatt and Nate Lear, and those guys are in the same weightlifting class with each other, and I've seen them compete with each other every single day, and I know that that's making them better, and so I'm really looking forward to those 2 growing and seeing, and watching them compete to make each other better every single day.
Right.
And who knows if somebody else comes along, they'll be right. They'll throw in right into the competition as well. Hey, best man, hey, go after it.
So right now it's wide open, basically. What you're saying.
Wide open.
Yeah, I mean those guys are competing for it, and I'm enjoying watching them compete.
Hey, we'll see what happens.
And the good thing is too is they're good friends, So
are both of them rising? Will be rising juniors coming up this fall.
They are.
Okay.
No, they're rising juniors.
Right. So they were sophomores this past season.
They were sophomores this past season.
Okay, so either way,
and both of those guys too. And saying this, and this is a compliment to both of those. Both of those guys could play other positions on the field too, because they're both very strong, very explosive, and very smart athletes.
Okay. So, jack of all trades type thing, Swiss Army knife, as you call it.
Yeah.
The spring game. Tell us about the spring game this year.
So we plan on having the spring game on May the 9th. We'll either do it around 7 or 7:30. It's going to be on Thursday, and that's kind of making sure that we allow our athletes to come out of those spring sports. I don't. Our helmets are off to be reconditioned, so I'm not exactly sure like when we plan on getting those back. If we get them back at early time, maybe can put some pads on and some helmets on and kind of just run through some live. Well, not really live. Sorry, not live, but say like full plays on air.
Right.
And then, also probably be more of a 7-on-7 inter squad versus each other.
Okay. We got a little question in the chat. This looks like one of your players right here. Coach, what's the biggest thing you think we need to do better as a team together?
The biggest thing that we need to do as a team to be better together. Just, hey, be a family. Love each other. Like we talked about, our identity for this team, having each other's back. And then we talked about the Bible verse, John 15:13, no greater love than this, that a man would lay down his life for his friends and his family. So if you love the man beside of you and you care about his success and you're willing to put it all on the line for the man beside of you, not just for yourself, that's what I think is going to push us through.
I love that message because with this, we live in a society where there's always this us versus them dynamic, whether it's political, whether it's racial, whether it's religious, whatever the case may be. But one thing I love about Answer Football in the fall is that it's just blue and orange. All the other things, at least for 3 or 4 hours,
that's right.
Orange, we're all high fiving each other, man, and I love that, and that scripture and that whole philosophy just kind of embodies that.
That's right. Man, we're like I tell them, in the weight room, we're here to make each other better, man. Everybody, we're here as human beings and to make one another better and help each other around us. And don't be negative and looking to pull people down or down them on their accomplishments. Bring them up, raise them up.
Yeah, and the thing about it, everybody benefits when the team is winning. Everybody benefits that more than likely more eyes are on the team and everybody's winning. So if your brother is doing well, that's going to help you. So that's the thing about, because when the thing is, if the team is losing, if you're 3-7, but somebody went 1,500 yards, it's almost like, well, who cares?
And that's kind of what I'm trying to relay the message with those guys into, because I mean I see them on social media with going back and forth with different bar stools and things like that, and after losses, and it's like, guys, if you don't win, you're never going to win that argument. Like, win the game first.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, also, and I always tell people this: in any profession, especially or any activity you're embarking in, anytime you're partaking in an activity that's in the public eye, when things are going well, there's going to be praise, and when things are not going well, there's going to be criticism.
That's right.
That comes along with it. and we're human. Of course, if my work is being criticized, I'm not going to be happy about it. But then I have to evaluate myself and look at it like this: what do I need? What do I need to do better to avoid the situation? Or how much of it is noise? At the end of the day, I can't really focus on what somebody else is saying. I can only focus on my craft and focus on being better on whatever I'm working in. I know when you're dealing with teenagers don't necessarily are not going to necessarily have the thought process of adults. But how do you kind of get everybody honed in and focused to say, hey, don't worry about what folks are saying on Facebook. Don't worry about what you might see on some message board or whatever. Let's focus on us and what we're doing. And as long as we're doing what we're supposed to do, all the other stuff will handle itself.
That's right. It'll be taken care of. Yeah. And I think that's just making sure that you repeat that message every single day to them. It's not just going to be something you can tell them one time and it goes in and sticks. It's something you're going to have to tell them every day, and it's something that we have to tell ourselves as adults too. Not to let others' opinion, kind of contradict how we view or how we feel things, because there's always going to be something or somebody that looks at your situation, or especially as a coach, and thinks that they could do your job better than you. And like you said, making sure that you, number one, look in the mirror first to see what I can do better instead of pointing fingers.
Yeah, and another important part, Mr. Stinson, I call him Coach Stinson because that's what he was when he taught me in high school.
Yeah.
This is a game at Pageland last year, and we at the time Anson was up like 34-7. But the game got within 34-21. I was getting a little upset, and I was like, "Man, we're gonna let them back in the game." And I remember Stinson looked at me and said, "Dude," he said, "kids are gonna screw up sometimes. It's just a matter of honing them in." The same thing with adults. There are going to be times people screw up. I hope that the kids understand that, yes, there are going to be times when mistakes made. Sometimes an interception may be thrown. Sometimes there may be a fumble. Sometimes there may be a missed tackle. Things like that are going to happen. However, when a mistake like that happens, you can't let it compound. You have to get over it, understood that, hey, I screwed this up, take accountability for it, and move on. Don't let it hold on. Don't let it be something that linger. I think last year's year went on, we got better with that. And I'm going to give an example. It was against your alma mater, the game out there at West Stand. I remember late in the game, we had a chance to seal the game, and we ended up having a fumble late in that game, a fumble on the wrong side of the field with about a minute or something left. With West Stand offense had a chance to tie the game up, and our defense stood up on a sudden change situation at the end of the game and had a 4 and out and still maintain that win. So to me, that shows the growth. And yeah, we made a crucial mistake, but we didn't let that one mistake turn into another. We still moved on from it and didn't have a meltdown. Is that a part of your messaging? Like, hey, like things are going to happen, but we just got to learn from them and move forward.
Correct. Yeah. And I wouldn't say that we're by no means, bulletproof on that subject right now. Even carrying from last year, there's a lot of times that we let adversity kind of be overbearing, like you said, and kind of one thing leads to another. And I see it in football and a lot of the sports at Anson High School, to where we let adversity really get to us and mess up kind of our plan, and so like you said, making sure that the kids know that is a message, that we can't let adversity, define who we are. We have to make sure that we're sticking together, we have each other's back, and we keep fighting.
Yeah. And speaking of that, man, I think some of that is because, and I'm trying to word this nicely, but we're kind of viewed as an underdog community. And what I mean by that, we have a lot of, as a community, we have a lot of things outside of football that can create bad opportunities for our young men. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes it could be a mindset, especially with things that are going on in life, like no matter what I try to do, something goes wrong. Mm-hmm. And I know I've talked to Coach Jackson about this as well, and the relatability is there. And by the way, I don't mean this as an insult, but of course, being a young African American man, there are a lot of things that can distract and put our kids in a position to not be successful. I'm not asking you to walk in the shoes because everybody have different walks of life, but still having worked with Coach Jackson and witnessed some of that, how do you still let those kids know that, hey, I'm still here for you in that regard, even though you may not be able to walk exactly in their shoes?
Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry, I could you like what's the main question there as far as like how do I basically relate to the guys?
I'll repeat. I'm about to say our community is, like I was saying, is an underdog community. I understand, and we have a lot of challenges for our African American men socioeconomically in our community. I was saying, even though you may not be able to walk directly in those shoes, how are you there still to support those young men and let them know that, hey, you can still trust me even though I can't exactly walk in your shoes?
You know, I can't answer that question other than saying just being me, you know, and I feel like the guys know who I am, you know, no matter what color I am, I think they know that, you know, Coach Allen loves me, and I do, you know, I love every one of them, no matter what color they are. And so just knowing that kids see genuine. If you're genuine, they're going to be able to see that. You can't fake it.
Right.
You know, so I would say just making sure that they know that you care about them.
Right.
Because I believe if they know that you care about them, you know, they're going to run through a brick wall for you.
Right. And I could already see that by the way that some of the guys are responding to you here in the chat, that I can tell that the genuine love and care is there. So by the way,
I did want to make sure I said this too, you know, and with you talking about the guys comment on here, you know, we've been talking about how good athletes, you know, that we have and the potential that they have. But I also want to say that the guys that I have on this football team are also great human beings and great boys. And I told them that the other day, and you know, making sure that you make an impactful relationship that leaves lasting impressions and memories in their lives is even more important than anything else.
That is true.
And we got two questions in the chat, but you go ahead, Tyler.
No, I just want to make it clear for anyone listening. The point of that question wasn't to drive up any divisive conversation. It was just it was more of a situation because it's still a reality of what these young men have to deal with. And so I was just at the time I was just wanting to see like how do you approach being there for those young men with some of the things the challenges they face. That was the only reason that question was asked. Go ahead.
Yes.
So we got two questions. I think they're both the same questions. We got how would the team do without the loss of Denez Chambers, and the same one, how we're going to bounce back from a loss of a superstar of Denez Chambers.
Hey, you know what this is? This is the boys' baseball team coming back from Pembroke right now, and they're having fun on the bus. Or not Pembroke, sorry, Piedmont. And they're having fun on the bus. But Denez knows I love him, and Denez's demeanor and just, you know, how he presents himself. He's a lovable guy, and that is definitely going to be – I'm going to miss him at practice, that's for sure. That's for sure. Spending time with Denez.
Was that him on his burner account asking that?
Well, Trey and Isaiah are both on the baseball team, so I'm, you know, then they're sitting there with Denez. So Denez probably says, "Hey, ask Coach, what he gonna do without me?"
Hey, next man up.
Hey, but that's that camaraderie I talked about. You know, making sure that you're being involved in everything and you know, building those relationships like they're doing right now, and it's special, man. It's something that they're going to carry as, you know, and cherish throughout their life.
Man, what is it going to be? What is it going to be like going having to face against Coach Jackson? The fact that Coach Jackson is in your conference, I know he's a guy that's dear to you, a guy that you probably look at as kind of like a mentor in the coaching space. And usually, coaches kind of keep that dialogue with each other. Had being conference rivals now, does that change like how you and Coach Jackson interact with each other?
Oh no, and I'll say this too. I hope Coach Jackson's watching. I was at his 50th birthday party the other day, and you know, he just turned 50 yesterday, and so our relationship is still very close. And
hey, Ralph, man, it's impressive that he's 50 years old with no gray hair.
Yeah, that's right. But no, I definitely don't think that drives a wedge in our relationships. Like I said, I respect Coach and I really appreciate everything he did for me and going out on a limb and he's been like he calls me his white son. He's like my black man, So he did tell me at the birthday party though the other day that I better be ready. So he said he was bringing some boxing gloves to the 50-yard line. So so here I come, Coach.
I told him when he took the job, I said, Coach, I hope y'all go 9-1. You know what the one that I was talking about.
Oh yeah.
So ask this question because I'm real curious, man. When did the coaching bug bite you?
What's that?
When did the coaching bug bite you? Like what made you want to be a coach?
I would say when I was in high school, I kind of decided that I wanted to be a coach, probably about the 9th grade. And then, just the relationships I built with coaches, throughout my entire life, and through college, I could sit here and name so many coaches who've kind of molded me into the man that I am today. And then, also guys that I've coached with, that kind of have made me into the mold, who we are today. And just the networking that football brings, it's special, man. It's hard to explain, and that's why we're sitting here on this Zoom call right now, because both of you, obviously, football is important to you, and you probably had a coach that influenced you, and so sitting here and talking about high school football or Anson High School football at 9 o'clock on a Thursday night, we're sitting here and we're loving it because of it was ingrained in us, so.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, moment of truth. I never played it down. I just want to put that out there.
Okay, I got you.
Nick played football, but I never played it down.
Well, I was there when Luke was I want to say he was I think he was wide receiver assistant, and Bruce was my head coach.
Well, we all know whether you played it or not. Basically how much time that you put into it, and it's a special game. It's a special game.
And one thing I do want to tell you, Coach, I know that you've been here for a few years, and you've been here at a time that the community and the program is in transition. But I want to tell you, when this program is winning, this is a special place, man. When everybody's together on the same page, the atmosphere is electric at Bearcat Stadium when Anson's a winner. Like Coach Hyde to tell you that, like he can remember back in the days, cars we parked all the way down to the National Guard Armory on Anson High School Road. So if we can get that ship righted, man, I'm telling you, it could be an environment like no other. And I'm hoping that that you get the opportunity to see that. Hopefully, with you now being named the head coach, that infuse some new energy. And that's no disrespect to anyone, but infuse some new energy. And hopefully, if we get off to a good start, you'll see early how electric that crowd can be.
Yeah, well, I pray for that as well. And I can say that, I do have family, from Anson County. So I grew up in Oakboro, but I do have a lot of family that grew up in Anson County. And I can tell you my first time that I can remember going to an Anson County football game was when I was a sophomore in high school, and we actually got put out in the first round of the playoffs against Reidsville. So the next week I went to Anson with my father to watch an Anson game because I had heard about it, and so my uncle he went all to the games, forever. But I come and watched them play Olympic, and I think it was either the second or the third round of the playoffs back when Jordan Hendricks was the quarterback and Stephon Anthony was playing. So I did see that atmosphere.
That was in 2008 against Olympia. That was a second round game. The score of that game was an Anson win, 55-20.
Yes, blew them out. And I remember looking on the other side, and that their stands was packed too, and they had the big Olympic flag, and I think they put it down, after about the third quarter.
Yeah, that was vintage Anson. And Coach Hyde was the offense coordinator on that team, so he was coaching on Anson at that time. That was Stephon Anthony, Brandon Ellery. We had 3 D1 players on that team. Marcus Smith. Of course, Stephon is. Brandon played at North Carolina. Marcus Smith played at Texas Tech. So Trey Thomas too played at Clemson as well. We had 4 D1 guys on that team. I know we don't have those kind of numbers now, but I'm just saying that atmosphere that you saw there. I believe that you can recreate that atmosphere.
Well, I hope so. I truly hope so, and I think, and I have heard about Marcus Smith because I believe Marcus is Jazir's uncle.
Dearest uncle, yeah.
Yep. Yep. So he's told me about him as well.
Yeah, a big nose tackle.
Yeah.
6'3", 320 or something like that. You didn't run the ball up the middle with Marcus Smith on the field.
I got you. I like to have, yeah. That makes it a little bit easier to coach.
Yeah, then you had Stephon, who was like 6'3", 230. You had Doug Lilly, who was about 6'2", 225. We had the size was different back then too.
Yeah.
I'm going all night, so I'm not even gonna get on that tangent. So let me stop before I get going down memory lane.
Yeah.
We got somebody said 98 through 2002 was a great time as a kid watching that orange and blue, and it was. It definitely was.
Well, hopefully it's something we can recreate and maybe, go into the next level. So
yeah, because not only do I want to compete against the Monroes and the Forest Hills, I want to compete against the Reedsville Rams. I want to compete against the Shelby Golden Lions too. And I know I'm jumping the gun, but I'm talking about ultimately. Ric Flair said to beat a man, you got to beat the man. I'm talking about to be elite. That's what those teams, those four programs I mentioned, those are where the bar is. Of course, one day at a time. Right now, we got to be the best version of Anson. But I'm hoping the eventual product is to be at some point. I'm not saying win, but at some point to get to where we can compete with those. Because if we want to get to the ultimate goal, those are the type of people we got to go through.
That's right. And like you said, it's gonna first take maximizing who we are, as maximizing our potential and making those stepping stones and building our confidence to that level.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna talk to him all night long, Nick, because I know you
Yeah.
got.
We appreciate you for coming up, Coach. Man, is anything you want to tell everybody out there?
No, again, I want to thank you guys for having me on the show, and I do want to thank the community, for the support that I've had already, and I ask that you can continue to support and support these guys, because they are a special group of guys, not only as athletes but also young men.
Okay. All right, Coach.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying we appreciate it for coming up, man. We're gonna definitely try to make it to the spring game. I'll be in touch with you.
Yes,
come
sir.
out there and film again and do like we did last year, if possible.
Yes, sir. Love for y'all to come out. Hopefully, hopefully we can get a lot of people out there.
I look forward to you changing the culture so that we can return to dominance. Shout out to our old friend.
Oh yeah. But yeah, we appreciate you for coming, Coach, and well, till next time.
Yes, sir. Enjoyed it. Thank you, fellas.
All right, everybody. As you seen, that was our interview with Coach. I want to appreciate him for coming up, man. Go get up out of here, so I'll give T the floor. And
all right. Evening, good people. A couple things transpired since we last talked. Nick and I, we graduated in the class of 2006. And unfortunately, since the last broadcast, man, we lost two of our classmates. Those of you know, we lost James McLean, who was a member of the class 2006. Unfortunately, we lost him at the age of 36. And our former classmate, Bianca McBride, we lost her at the age of 35. It's just a reminder that at any given point, it could all be taken just like that. So it's a reminder to continue to live life to the fullest, live abundantly, keep the man upstairs first. On a personal note, I'm going to solicit some prayers. I have a first cousin in Kansas City, Missouri. His name is Jason. He's going through some challenges right now, some health challenges, some serious health challenges. And he's fighting through those challenges because he's a champion and that's what he does. But I'm soliciting prayers that that we ask for God to lay his hands on him so he can continue to swing, continue to fight. And I got a feeling that he's going to come out victorious and that he's going to overcome this episode. But I'm asking for you guys to send prayers his way so he could have a little bit of boost, a little extra motivation, and a little extra fuel so he could win this battle. Thank you, guys.
All right. With that being said, appreciate you guys for coming through. Everybody that participated in the chat tonight, we appreciate you. Y'all hit that subscribe button, man. Hit the like button as well. We're trying to get on the road to 500, so we can't do it without y'all. So all those new people that I hadn't seen in here, well, I've never seen y'all in here, but I appreciate y'all for coming through for real. Y'all hit that subscribe button, man. Stay tuned to it. Tomorrow night we got a double hitter, sneaker battle. You don't want to miss out on that. That will be at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So if you're free, pull it on up and chill out with us for a little bit. We're gonna have a good time tonight. We got a bunch of Carolina folks showing some sneakers tomorrow night. So if y'all free, come on through. And with that being said, man, we up out of here and we'll catch y'all next time.
All right, take it easy.
Peace.